April 2nd, 1945, 10:47 a.m. Sky over Schweinfurt, Germany. First Lieutenant Bruce Carr is leading a reconnaissance patrol of 4 P-51 Mustangs at 15,000 feet. The war in Europe has less than 6 weeks left. Everyone can feel it. German resistance is collapsing. The Luftwaffe, once the most feared air force in the world, is a shadow of its former self. Most missions these days involve ground support, strafing retreating columns, hitting supply lines. Air-to-air combat has become rare, which makes what Carr is about to see even more shocking. His eyes catch movement above. Not 1 or 2 aircraft, a massive formation. Stacked between 18,000 and 25,000 feet, he counts quickly. 60 aircraft. Maybe more. Bf-109s and FW-190s mixed together, flying in loose, defensive formation. The largest concentration of German fighters he's seen in 6 months. Carr does the math in his head. For Americans, 60 Germans. They have altitude advantage, numerical advantage, positional advantage. 15-to-1 odds. Every tactical manual ever written says the same thing. Disengage. Report the sighting. Let the bomber escort squadrons handle this. Get your 4 aircraft home safely. Live to fight another day. But Bruce Carr has spent the last year proving that manuals are just suggestions. He keys his radio to his wingman. 1 word. Engaging. There's a pause. Less than a second. His wingmen have flown with Carr before. They know what he's capable of. They know his record. They know that when Carr says engaging, he's not asking for opinions. The 4 Mustangs turn and climb into the German formation. In the next 7 minutes, they will destroy 15 German fighters. 0 American losses. And Bruce Carr will personally shoot down 5 enemy aircraft, becoming the last ace in a day in the European theater of World War II. But to understand why a pilot decides to attack a formation 15 times his size, you need to understand who Bruce Carr was long before. You need to understand the pattern that started in a crop duster's biplane over Union Springs, New York. 6 years earlier. Union Springs, New York. Summer 1939, Bruce Ward Carr was born, January 28, 1924. There was nothing remarkable about his childhood. Farm country, small town, working-class family, the kind of place where most kids grow up, work to lend, maybe move to the city if they're ambitious. Carr was 15 when he met Earl, a local crop duster who ran an aerial application business out of a grass strip on the edge of town. Earl needed help loading pesticide drums. Carr needed summer work. The arrangement was simple, until one afternoon when Earl looked at the kid and said, "You want to take the controls for a minute?" That minute changed everything. The aircraft was a Stearman biplane. Open cockpit, radial engine. Simple controls. Earl showed Carr the basics. Stick, rudder, pedals, throttle. Don't touch anything else until I tell you. Carr took the stick. The biplane responded instantly to his inputs. Light on the controls, eager to maneuver. For 10 minutes, Earl let the 15-year-old farm kid fly straight and level over the New York countryside. When they landed, Carr was hooked. The year matters. September 1939. Germany invaded Poland. World War II began. A 15-year-old kid in upstate New York couldn't know that, within 5 years, he'd be dogfighting Messerschmitts over Berlin. But some part of him must have sensed that flying was about to become the most important skill a young man could possess. For the next 2 years, Carr worked for Earl, loading pesticide, mixing chemicals, maintaining the aircraft. In exchange, Earl gave him stick time. By 16, Carr had logged more flight hours than most Army Air Corps cadets. By 17, he could land in crosswinds. That would ground pilots twice his age. Earl taught him something else, something that wouldn't appear in any flight manual. When conventional approaches don't work, improvise. When the textbook says it's impossible, try it anyway. The worst that happens is you prove the textbook right. Carr never forgot that lesson. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. America enters the war. September 3rd, 1942. Bruce Carr enlists in the United States Army Air Forces. He's 18 years old. the minimum age for combat pilots. At the Aviation Cadet Training Program, something unusual happens. His instructor reviews Carr's application and sees 240 flight hours already logged. More than twice what most cadets arrive with. The instructor's name, Earl, the same crop duster from Union Springs, had joined up 6 months earlier. Earl takes one look at Carr's flight record and recommends him for the accelerated program, advanced training for pilots who already know the basics. Less classroom time, more combat preparation. By August 1943, Carr is a flight officer. By February 1944, he's in England. Assignment: 353rd Fighter Squadron, 354th Fighter Group, 9th Air Force, the Pioneer Mustang Group. The 1st Army Air Forces unit in Europe to fly P-51s in combat. These aren't training pilots. These are the men who wrote the manual on Mustang operations, the best pilots in the European theater. Carr fits right in. Let's talk about the P-51 Mustang, because to understand what Carr accomplished, you need to understand the machine he flew. The P-51D Mustang is, by every objective measure, the finest propeller-driven fighter aircraft ever built. The numbers tell the story. Range: 1,650 miles with drop tanks. That's enough to escort bombers from England to Berlin and back. Before the Mustang, American fighters couldn't make the round trip. Bombers flew unescorted deep into Germany. The result? Catastrophic losses. October 14, 1943. The second Schweinfurt raid. The 8th Air Force sent 291 B-17 flying fortresses to destroy ball-bearing factories in central Germany. No fighter escort for the final leg. German interceptors swarmed the formation. 60 bombers shot down. Another 17 damaged beyond repair. 600 men killed or captured. All in a single mission. The Mustang changed everything. Top speed: 437 miles per hour at 25,000 feet. Service ceiling: 41,900 feet. Fast enough and high enough to intercept any German aircraft. Strong enough to dive away from trouble. Maneuverable enough to dogfight. Armament: 6 50 caliber M2 Browning machine guns. 3 in each wing. 1,880 rounds total. Each gun fires 800 rounds per minute. That's 4,800 rounds per minute combined. A 2-second burst delivers 160 rounds. Enough to shred a German bomber, cripple a fighter, or saw a train in half. The cockpit offers exceptional visibility. The pilot sits high, under a bubble canopy. No obstructions. 360-degree views. In a dogfight, the pilot who sees first usually wins. Mustang pilots see everything. For German pilots, the P-51 was a nightmare. Fast enough to catch them. Maneuverable enough to outfight them. Numerous enough that they appeared everywhere. The Luftwaffe called them Die Langon, the long ones, referring to their distinctive nose profile. By early 1944, the Mustang was breaking the Luft. German pilot losses exceeded replacement rates. Experienced aviators were dying faster than training schools could produce new ones. The qualitative advantage that had won the Battle of France in 1940 was gone. Now German pilots faced American fighters flown by increasingly skilled pilots, with better training, better support, and unlimited fuel. Bruce Carr falls in love with the P-51 instantly. He names his aircraft Angel's Playmate. The cockpit fits him like it was built for his dimensions. The controls respond smoothly. The visibility is perfect. The power is intoxicating. For the first time in his life, Carr is flying a machine that can do everything he can imagine. No limitations, no compromises, just pure performance. He's about to test exactly how far that performance can go. March 8, 1944. Flight Officer Carr's first combat engagement. The mission is routine. Bomber escort over Western Germany. The bombers complete their run without incident. No German interceptors. Carr's flight is returning to base when someone spots a single aircraft below. A Messerschmitt Bf 109, flying low and fast, heading east. Carr doesn't hesitate. He breaks formation and dives. The Bf 109 is Germany's most produced fighter. First flown in 1935. By 1944 it's obsolete, but still deadly in the hands of a skilled pilot. This pilot is skilled. The moment he sees the Mustang diving toward him, he drops to treetop level and runs. What happens next is either brilliant flying or suicidal recklessness, depending on who you ask. The chase covers 40 miles. Both aircraft are flying at 400 miles per hour, barely clearing the German forests. Trees flash past on both sides. One mistake, one moment of inattention, and either pilot will cartwheel through the forest at 400 miles per hour. Car fires. Misses the 109 Jinx left. Car follows. Fires again. One round clips the 109's left wing. Minor damage, but enough. The German pilot panics. He's been flying at 50 feet for 5 minutes straight. His hands are shaking. His heart is hammering. He sees the Mustang behind him, sees the tracers, and makes a fatal decision. He pulls up, climbs to 500 feet. Ejects. But he's misjudged his altitude. The parachute deploys. But there isn't enough time for it to fully inflate. The pilot hits the ground at 60 miles per hour. He doesn't survive. The 109 crashes into a hillside 3 seconds later. Carr returns to base. He's expecting congratulations. His first kill. Instead, his commanding officer calls him into the office. Carr, that was the most over-aggressive flying I've ever witnessed. You chased that German for 40 miles at treetop level. You nearly killed yourself a dozen times. One mistake, and you're dead. There's a pause. The kill doesn't count. You didn't shoot him down. He killed himself trying to escape from you. Technically, the officer is right. Carr's bullets didn't destroy the aircraft. The pilot's panic did. But it's the first indication that Bruce Carr doesn't think like other pilots. Where his commanding officer sees recklessness, Carr sees results. Where the manual says, maintain safe altitude, Carr sees get the kill. The pattern is starting to emerge. May 1944. Carr transfers to the 353rd Fighter Squadron, 354th Fighter Group, the Pioneer Mustang Group. If his previous assignment was good pilots, this is the best. These are the men who flew the first Mustang combat missions in Europe. They wrote the tactics. They discovered the capabilities. They know what the aircraft can do because they pushed it to the limits and found out. Carr fits in immediately. June 6, 1944. D-Day, the invasion of Normandy, begins. For the next month, the 354th Fighter Group flies constant missions, ground support, interdiction, bomber escort. The tempo is brutal, sometimes 3 missions a day. Pilots sleep in their flight suits, ready to scramble at any moment. June 17, 1944. 11 days after D-Day, Carr scores his first official kill. His flight is providing air cover over the Normandy beachhead when they spot German fighters attempting to strafe Allied positions. For FW-190s, flying low and fast, making attack runs on American troops. Carr and his wingmen dive. The FW-190s see them coming and turn to engage. Dogfight at 2,000 feet, turning, diving, climbing, both sides firing. Tracers crisscrossing the sky above the invasion beaches. Carr gets behind an FW-190. Fires. The German fighter trails. Smoke. Noses over. Crashes into a field. Carr's wingman destroys a second FW-190 seconds later. The other 2 Germans break off and run. Half credit for one FW-190 destroyed. Carr's first official kill. 2 months later, he makes second lieutenant. The promotion comes with a pay raise and additional responsibilities. He's no longer just a pilot. He's a flight leader, responsible for wingmen, for mission planning, for bringing everyone home alive. September 12, 1944. This is where the pattern becomes undeniable. The mission brief is straightforward. Strafe a German airfield near the French-German border. Destroy aircraft on the ground. Hit fuel depots. Disrupt operations. Standard mission. The 354th has flown dozens like it. Carr's flight arrives at the target. The airfield is active. German aircraft are visible, parked in revetments, partially concealed by camouflage netting. Junkers rue. 88 bombers. Mostly twin-engine medium bombers. Valuable targets. Carr leads the strafing run. The 4 Mustangs dive from 8,000 feet, accelerate to 400 miles per hour, level off at 50 feet. The airfield erupts in tracers and flak. German anti-aircraft batteries open fire. 20mm cannons, 37mm guns, everything they have. Carr's Mustang shudders from impacts, small caliber rounds punching through the wings. The fuselage. Nothing critical. He holds the trigger down. 6.50 caliber guns firing simultaneously. The Ru-88s explode. Fuel tanks rupt. Ammunition cooks off. Secondary explosions ripple across the airfield. The 4 Mustangs pull up, climbing away from the target. Behind them, the airfield is burning. Mission successful. They turn for home. That's when someone spots the German fighters, 30 FW-190s, 2,000 feet below them, flying in loose formation. They're either coming to defend the airfield or returning from another mission. Either way, they're between Carr's flight and Allied lines. The smart play is to avoid them. 4 Mustangs versus 30 FW-190s. 7-to-1 odds. The Mustangs have altitude advantage, but that's it, and they've just expended ammunition strafing the airfield. Nobody has full guns. Carr doesn't hesitate. He rolls inverted and dives. His wingmen follow. They always follow. What happens in the next 3 minutes is chaos. 30 German fighters, startled by 4 Mustangs diving into their formation. The Germans scatter. Some break left, some break right. No coordination. No plan. Just panic. Carr picks a target, an FW-190, trying to dive away. He follows. Fires. The FW-190's right wing shears. Off, the aircraft tumbles, spinning, crashing into the forest below. Carr shifts to another target, another FW-190, this one climbing, trying to gain altitude. Carr fires. The canopy shatters. The FW-190 rolls inverted and plummets. Third kill. Another FW-190 attempting to escape at low altitude. Carr chases, fires. The German fighter trails smoke, crashes into a hillside. 3 kills in 3 minutes. But now Carr's wingman is taking fire. A German pilot has gotten behind him, is firing, scoring hits. The Mustang's engine is streaming coolant. Carr breaks off his attack, turns toward his wingman, gets behind the German fighter. Fires. The FW-190 explodes. Carr escorts his damaged wingman all the way back to Allied territory, foregoing any additional kills to ensure his fellow pilot survives. They make it back. The damaged Mustang lands safely. The pilot walks away. 3 confirmed kills. 1 pilot saved, 0 losses. The citation for Carr's Silver Star reads, for gallantry in action against an armed enemy while serving as a pilot in the 353rd Fighter Squadron, 354th Fighter Group, 9th Air Force, in aerial combat on the 12th of September 1944. On this date, Lieutenant Carr displayed exceptional courage and flying skill when, despite being outnumbered, he led his flight in an attack against a superior enemy force, destroying 3 enemy aircraft and protecting his wounded wingmen. Second highest combat decoration for valor. But here's what the citation doesn't say. Bruce Carr attacked 30 German fighters with 3 wingmen, because he calculated that surprise and aggression would overcome numerical disadvantage. He was right. The Germans expected evasion. They got violence. By the time they recovered, Carr had destroyed 3 of their aircraft and escaped. It's not recklessness. It's calculated risk, based on understanding his own capabilities, his aircraft's performance, and his opponent's psychology. October 29, 1944. Carr downs 2 Bf-109s over Germany during a bomber escort mission. Total confirmed kills, 7.5. He's officially an ace. 5 or more confirmed aerial victories. The 354th Fighter Group throws a party. Earl, his old instructor, sends a letter. I always knew you'd be trouble. Car is 20 years old. Now we return to April 2nd, 1945. Schweinfurt, 4 P-51s versus 60 German fighters. The moment that will define Bruce Carr's war. Let's set the scene properly. By April 1945, Germany is collapsing. The Red Army is approaching Berlin from the east. American and British forces are crossing the Rhine from the west. The Luftwaffe is disintegrating. Fuel shortages, pilot losses, equipment failures. Most experienced aviators are dead, captured, or reassigned to ground defense of German cities. But 60 aircraft is 60 aircraft. The formation cars looking at consists of Bf-109 G-10s and FW-19 OD-9 South. These are the latest variants. The Jetton is the fastest 109 ever produced, capable of 428 miles per hour at altitude. The D-9, nicknamed the Long-Nosed Dora, is powered by an inline Jumo 213 engine, producing 1,776 horsepower. Top speed, 426 miles per hour. These are not obsolete aircraft. These are Germany's best fighters, produced in the final year of the war, incorporating every lesson learned from 4 years of combat. The pilots, relatively inexperienced. The Luftwaffe's training pipeline has been hemorrhaging since 1943. New pilots receive minimal flight hours before being thrown into combat. Many have less than 100 hours total flight time. In 1940, German pilots trained for a year before seeing combat. In 1945, they train for 6 weeks. But they're still dangerous. 60 aircraft can overwhelm 4, regardless of pilot skill. Kharkiz's radio. Engaging. His wingman don't question Lieutenant Robert Bob Wehrman, Second Lieutenant James Jim Duffy, Second Lieutenant Charles Chuck Seski. They've flown with Carr for months. They trust his judgment. The 4 Mustangs climb. 15,000 feet, 16,000, 17,000. Closing the altitude gap, the German formation is flying in a loose defensive formation. Staggered altitude, wide spacing, probably heading to intercept a bomber stream. They're conserving fuel, not expecting combat yet. They don't see the 4 Mustangs climbing toward them. Carr positions his flight below and behind the German formation. Classic attack position. Sun at their backs. Altitude advantage negated. The Germans are silhouetted against the sky. Perfect visibility. Carr selects his target, a Bf-109 on the outside of the formation. Isolated, vulnerable. He fires. 6.50 caliber machine guns. Converge on the F-109. The German pilot never sees the attack. The aircraft disintegrates. Pieces of wing, fuselage, canopy tumbling through the sky. The German formation reacts. But they don't know how many attackers there are. They don't know where the fire came from. Some break left. Some break right. Some dive. No coordination. No plan. Carr shifts to his next target, an FW-190, attempting to climb. He leads the target, compensating for the FW-190's climb rate and the convergence of his guns. Fires. 3-second burst. The FW-190's engine explodes. The aircraft rolls inverted and plummets. 2 down. Carr's wingmen are engaging now. Tracers crisscrossing the sky. German fighters scattering in every direction. Carr finds his 3rd target. Another Bf-109. This one diving, trying to escape. Carr follows. The Mustang is faster in a dive. He closes the distance. Fires. The 109's tail section separates. The aircraft enters an uncontrollable spin. 3 down. 4th target, an FW-190 that's realized what's happening and is turning to fight. The German pilot is skilled. He's reversing hard, trying to get behind Carr. Turning fight at 18,000 feet, both aircraft pulling maximum G. Carr uses the Mustang's superior power-to-weight ratio. He extends vertically, climbs, rolls, comes down behind the FW-190. Fires. The German fighter trails smoke, noses over, crashes into the German countryside below. 4 down. Fifth target. A Bf-109 attempting to regroup with other German fighters. Car intercepts, fires. The 109's cockpit shatters. The aircraft inverts and falls. 5 down. Car checks his ammunition. Low, maybe 30 rounds per gun remaining. Not enough for sustained combat. He checks his fuel. Adequate. But they've been fighting for 6 minutes at combat power. Time to go. He keys his radio. Break off. Head west. His wingman disengage. The German formation, what's left of it, is scattered across 30 miles of German airspace. They're no longer a cohesive unit, just individual aircraft trying to survive. Final tally: 15 German fighters destroyed, 5 by car, 10 by his wingman. For American aircraft, 0 losses. The 4 Mustangs turn for home. April 9th, 1945. 1 week later, Bruce Carr is promoted to captain. He's 21 years old. The Distinguished Service Cross arrives with a citation. Captain Bruce W. Carr distinguished himself by extraordinary heroism in connection with military operations against an armed enemy while serving as a pilot in the 353rd Fighter Squadron, 354th Fighter Group, 9th Air Force, in aerial combat on the 2nd of April 1945. On this data, Captain Carr was leading a flight of 4 aircraft on a reconnaissance mission over Germany when he observed a large enemy formation of approximately 60 aircraft. Completely disregarding his personal safety and the enemy's overwhelming numerical superiority and tactical advantage of altitude, he led his element in a direct attack on the hostile force. In the ensuing engagement, Captain Carr personally destroyed 5 enemy aircraft and damaged 1 additional hostile plane. The outstanding courage and superior airmanship displayed by Captain Carr on this occasion reflect the highest credit upon himself and the armed forces of the United States, second only to the Medal of Honor. Bruce Carr becomes the last ace in a day in the European theater of World War II. No American pilot will match his feat before Germany surrenders 1 month later, May 8, 1945. The day. Victory in Europe. Germany surrenders. The war is over. Bruce Carr has flown 172 combat missions, accumulated 14 to 15 confirmed aerial victories. The records differ on whether a shared kill counts as 0.5 or 1.0, plus numerous ground kills. Aircraft destroyed on airfields, trains strafed, vehicles demolished. He's 21 years old. Now, here's where the legend gets complicated, and where we need to separate what happened from what people wish happened. May 1945. Exact date uncertain. Somewhere in Austria, near Linz. The war in Europe is over. Germany has surrendered. Allied forces occupy former German airfields. Aircraft sit abandoned. Some damaged, some intact. War prizes waiting to be studied. Bruce Carr is stationed at one of these newly captured airfields. The 354th Fighter Group is conducting occupation duties, flying patrols, ensuring order, waiting for reassignment. On the tarmac sits a Focke-Wulf FW-190. Let's talk about the FW-190, because this is the aircraft Carr has been fighting for the past year. This is the machine that killed his friends, that shot at him, that he's destroyed dozens of times. The Focke-Wulf FW-191st flew in 1939. It entered service in 1941, when it first encountered Royal Air Force Spitfires over France. It dominated them so thoroughly that British pilots filed reports questioning whether the Germans had deployed an entirely new type of aircraft. The FW-190 was faster than the Spitfire Mark V. It rolled faster. It climbed faster, it hit harder. German pilots called it Würger, the butcher bird, after a predatory bird known for impaling its prey on thorns. Allied pilots called it Trouble. Standard armament: 2 13mm MG-131 machine guns in the cowling, for 20mm MG-151 cannons in the wings. Combined firepower capable of destroying a bomber in a single pass. Maximum speed 408 miles per hour. Combat range 500 miles. Service ceiling 37,400 feet, a deadly machine in the hands of an experienced pilot. Carr looks at the FW-190 sitting on the tarmac. The war is over. There's no combat mission, no tactical necessity. Just curiosity. What's it like to fly the aircraft he's been fighting for the past year? He climbs into the cockpit. Everything is in German. Every label, every gauge, every switch. Gothic script he can't read. The instrument panel is a wall of incomprehensible text, but some things are universal. Aircraft design follows certain principles. Throttle on the left, control stick on the right, airspeed indicator, top left, altimeter, top center. Engine instruments clustered on the right side of the panel. Carr traces. The controls, finds what looks like the fuel selector. Finds the magneto switches, finds the propeller control. The starter is the critical piece. In the P-51, it's an electrical system. Pousse a bouton, the starter motor engages. The engine turns over. Simple. The FW-190 uses an inertia starter. Mechanical. A flywheel that has to be wound up manually before it can turn the engine. Carr finds a T-shaped handle on the right side of the cockpit. German text he can't read, but the mechanism looks right. He pulls it. A mechanical whine fills the cockpit. The flywheel spinning up, storing energy. He lets it win for 20 seconds, then pulls the handle. The BMW 801 radial roars to life. 14 cylinders, 1,700 horsepower. Even at idle, it sounds like thunder. Carr has an escort. 2 squadron mates, flying P-51s, have agreed to accompany him. They're curious too. They want to see what the German fighter can do, how it compares to the Mustang, what advantages it has, what weaknesses. This is post-war evaluation, understanding enemy equipment. Learning from German engineering. Car taxis to the runway. The FW-190 is nose-heavy, with tricky ground handling. He pushes the throttle forward, and the aircraft leaps into the air. For 20 minutes, he tests the controls, comparing it to the Mustang. The FW-190 dives faster, turns tighter, but is heavier on the controls. When it's time to land, Carr tries the gear lever. Nothing. After several attempts, he decides to bet. The aircraft hits the grass at 90 miles per hour. Sparks fly, and the propeller shatters. It slides to a stop. Carr checks himself. No injuries, just a bruised ego. His squadron mates arrive, half laughing. Did you just belly land a German fighter? They ask. Couldn't figure out the landing gear, Carr replies. Later, they discover Carr's mistake. The hydraulic selector valve was in neutral, an easy error, especially with German labels. The real story isn't about stealing a fighter or dramatic escapes. It's just a simple mistake during a post-war joyride. But Carr's legacy is far more than this incident. He became a legend for his real accomplishments: 5 kills, the Distinguished Service Cross, and the last ace in a day. Carr's career continued. He adapted quickly to jets, joining the Acrojets, flying the P-80 Shooting Star. His skills transferred seamlessly to the F-86 Sabre in Korea, where he flew 57 combat missions. By 1955, he commanded his own squadron. Even in Vietnam, at 44, Carr was still flying combat missions. His story was one of continual service and adaptation, something you can learn more about at Uyghur, where stories of heroism, real or embellished, come to life.